Hi there, this is Daniel with End Time Country Living, and I'm out in my garden today. I wanted to take noticing my soup peas that I planted here are looking like they're getting ready here to be harvested, and I just kind of wanted to show you what they are and why you might want them. So soup peas are what you would grow for like you would see for split pea soup, something like that. Split peas. They're more of a soup pea. They're more of a starchy pea, where a normal shell pea that you would use for fresh eating or frozen is going to have a lot more sugars in it than starches. And so when you dehydrate a normal, snap or shell pea, it kind of shrivels up a little bit, whereas a soup pea will hold its shape after it's dehydrated. And so that can be more for cooking in soups or grinding to make flour out of, things like that, that a soup pea will be much better at. One of the other advantages of a soup pea is that the growing habit, you can find varieties that are very low growing to the ground, and that makes it so you don't have to set up trellising for it, so you can grow a large quantity in a field setting, and it can be a good crop to get a lot of nutrition out of it, proteins and carbohydrates and things like that, and starches out of it, and nutrition, other vitamins, minerals, and so it's something a little bit different than a bean all the time, and so you get a little different nutrition plus the different flavors, and so that's something to think about as just something else to grow that's different. You don't have to have the same beans all the time, and so this would be a good food item if we live in a time where the Bible predicts that there'll be a time where we can't buy or sell anymore. It'll have to be self-sustaining, and so this is something that we'll store throughout the year, and we can make use of it, or for several years at a time. We can store them up, and these are very easy to plant as well as take care of. They're pretty hardy, and they don't need a lot of water to get a good crop out of them, and they're not like a normal pea. You want to grow it in the early springtime when the weather is fairly cool, because they don't do well when it gets hot. These seem to do really well even through the hot weather. I planted them fairly late. I don't remember when I planted them, but it was probably June or so when I planted them out here, because I wasn't sure what their growing habit was and whether or not they could handle the cold temperatures or not. I think they probably would handle the cold temperatures. I need to do some more testing to find out if that's really true, but they have a very low growing habit. I was very surprised. I was, on the description of the seed, it said they didn't need a trellis for them, but I was a little skeptical, since most of the other ones say, oh, you don't need a trellis, but by the time you grow them, they're all flopping over in a big mess. These tend to be growing along the ground, and then they finally will come up, or they keep kind of falling over a little bit, but they're not very tall. So we're looking at about 8 inches off the ground or so, 8 to 10 inches. So there's several different, from the one plant here, it has several different little branches. This one is a little bit longer, but it ran along the ground and then kind of came up at the tip. That's what a lot of these were doing here. They kind of go along the ground, and then they'll kind of stand up a little bit for about 6 inches tall off the ground and produce their pods that way. So this is an example of some of the harvest you can get. There is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, about 21 to 22 pods on a particular plant. And they're not terribly big pods. Some of them are not too bad. Some are like 6 or 7. Some are only like 4, but they're more of definitely more of a white pea, kind of a yellowish to white pea, and fairly small, but not overly small. They're probably about the same quantity of food as a sweet pea, maybe a little bit more, but they definitely hold their shape, and so they tend to do quite well in that regard. But you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. Some of them are, there's maybe only 3 peas in there, but they're fairly easy to, once they're dry like this, is kind of when you want to harvest them, let them dry out here as best you can. And so, even planting these late, they matured quite early. So it is August 24 when I'm looking at them here, and so that really shows you that they can mature quite quickly, and you get a nice crop off of them. There's some over there that even blooming still. So I just planted these about 6 inches apart, and I think it's about 12 feet or so that I planted here. I just got a packet of them to try them out and grow them out and see how they are, and so far I'm pretty happy with them. So I encourage you to learn how to garden, to learn the skills you need to provide for your own needs and not have to rely on the world for water and food and heat and cooking ability. And so learn your skills now before we get into a time where we won't be able to depend on the world, and the world will want to force us to take the mark of the beast. And in order to not do that and suffer the consequences of eternal destruction, we will need to be self-sustaining, to have a little piece of land. Doesn't have to be much, but something you can provide a little firewood on, and a little garden area, something you can provide food for yourself, and a way to get water. And God will take care of our honor and bless our efforts and make them fruitful, so that we can continue to minister and reach out to other people and share the third angel's message. All right, that's all I have for you today. God bless, and I will see you on the next video.